It's a car, nothing more, nothing less. Hey there everybody in Internet Land, Dave Adams here with Rental Car Reviews brought to you by GT Channel. And today we're taking a look at this. It's a 2014 Chevrolet Sonic LS. It's a base model, but it does have Chevy MyLink, so let's check it out. On the outside, the Chevrolet Sonic is basic General Motors with a little Euro twist. It does a really good job at making you feel like you're driving something cooler than you actually are. With engines, you have two options, a naturally aspirated 1.8 liter and a turbocharged 1.4 liter. We have the 1.8 liter NA, which gives us about 138 horsepower, and you know, we're really not going to get into the torque because what you care about is efficiency, and this car gets that job done. 40 miles to the gallon highway, 25 miles to the gallon city. That's going to be an observed of about 32 miles to the gallon. Those figures come to us in small part to the 6-speed automatic transmission, but mostly because of this car's extremely feather lightweight. 2,700 pounds on the scale this thing tips in at. It's not heavy. Now that 2,700 pounds is in current trim, so let's talk about that and see what you get, or rather what you don't get. For starters, you don't get power mirrors, you don't get power seats, you don't get power windows. Everything is manual except for the gearbox, and I find that actually kind of entertaining. Instead of rolling your window down by pressing a button and simply having it fall into the door, you rotate this little lever here to the right, and the window slowly and majestically comes down. Move it back to the left, and it goes back up. It's genius. And then you have this thing. This little black knob here actually moves the mirror. I don't know what Chevy Corsica they saved that from, or what decade they had to go to get that, but the question that comes to mind immediately is why? Why in the world would they do that? You would think it'd be cheaper to just source over all power mirrors and windows from other cars into this one, but I guess not, because here it is. I actually sat here and laughed at this for about 15 minutes as it fiddled with this knob. I can't remember the last time I've had fun with the black knob. Wait, this cool dashboard is set up very simplistic, but it still gives you all the information you want. You have these LED readouts which give you, all the basic, whether or not your seatbelt's fastened, if you have a check engine light, which GM cars are notorious for. But you also get a really cool digital speedo with a tachometer right on the side of it. I like that. I think that's really cool. At night, that blue readout is a little bit harsh on the eyes, but for the most part, you don't notice it. And it actually puts everything out there in big letters and numbers that jump out right at you, so you only have to glance down one time. Kudos on that one as well, GM. Now let's talk about the stereo, which is the Chevy MyLink system. This is not the standard head unit, and it shows. You get into a car this Spartan with this particular layout, and then you get this head unit, you're blown away instantly. It's got a widescreen 7-inch display, which is touchscreen and actually very responsive. Everything happens your first touch every single time. You don't have to touch anything twice. You don't have to do anything over and over again to get it to actually respond to your inputs. I like that. Good job, Chevy. It's got your basic sources, AM, FM, and satellite, as well as Bluetooth streaming, which the last car, that Chevy Impala that we reviewed a week ago, did not have. You also get smartphone link with this particular head unit, which gives you Pandora, Stitcher, TuneIn, and Bringo apps. In a car at this level, why do you need these apps? I don't know, but I'm glad they put it in there. That's really awesome. I'm blown away. This stereo is definitely the highlight of this vehicle. Everything about it is just absolutely amazing. While we're talking about this unit, I want to go ahead and point out that you do not get a backup camera with this thing, which is a serious omission for something of this level of tech. You would think that they would just go ahead and throw it in, considering they're throwing this radio in here, but I guess that's an option that the dealer did not want to go for. Anyway, that's enough talking about the car. Let's put this thing on the road and see how it does. So when you first start driving this car, the initial impression is, wow, this is a car. And that's pretty much it. You don't get the sensation that you're in a small car, and you don't get the impression that you're in a large car. You just get the impression that you're in a car. And that's really all it is. That said, it is very spacious in here. I can actually sit behind myself, which is more than I could say for the Impala we reviewed last week. I don't know how they did it in a car this tiny, but you do not feel cramped. There's plenty of headroom, there's plenty of leg room, front and rear. The passenger's gonna be comfortable. It's just a good car. It's a well set up, well thought out car. Good job. Just driving along in traffic, which is mostly what you're gonna be doing in this thing. Power delivery comes on surprisingly well. It is only 138 horsepower, but you never feel like you don't have enough power to pass a vehicle. It's not blindingly fast. This isn't going to blow any Ferraris out of the water, but it's going to get the job done. Poking around traffic, you never feel like you need or that you're missing any power. You can pass people at will, and you can keep up with traffic just fine. You're never going to be the slow person. The steering wheel does a good job of communicating the road surface and conditions to your hands, which we're going to see the importance of in a few seconds when we hit the handling course, right about now. So as we approach our handling course, I'm going to try something here. We're not really going to so much go for performance and time. I'm going to reset the fuel economy. It's at 3 dashes. We have no fuel economy being read right now. And we're going to see how this thing does, because like I said, that's really what we're going to care about in this car. We're going to push it still, but we're going to see what kind of gas mileage we can get. Place your bets now. Like I said, this engine, though it's not making a ton of power, does a good job at delivering the power when you want it. I have to give it to them on that one. GM does know how to do engines really well. Unlike that Impala, 2,700 pounds makes this car extremely tossable. I could just throw this thing into every single corner and not have to worry about it. It's so predictable. The steering wheel does a good job, like I mentioned before, of communicating exactly what the road has underneath you. I could feel this leaf I just ran over. I can feel that. But through the steering wheel, not through the chassis. That's a good thing. Let's turn this thing around and do that again. Another thing I want to mention is brakes. The brakes on this car are actually pretty good. They're not going to put any Porsches to shame, but for what it is, it slows the car down really well. It's like they took the same brakes that they use on their larger cars and just put them on a smaller car. That's a good idea. More manufacturers should do that. Big brakes, small car. All right, for our final test here, we're going to use selective shift. I'm going to get in front of this truck. We're going to use selective shift, and we're going to wind the gears out a bit. Again, I'm expecting about 9 miles to the gallon once I'm all said and done here. I'm not looking down at that, I'm just watching the road. Wow, this thing does hold on though. This car actually handles rather well. It's almost European. It doesn't feel American at all. The only time it feels American is when you start to really get into the body roll section. But wow, that actually grips, that grips really well. So, go ahead and place your bets. I have got it memorized. I just looked at it. If you said 16 miles to the gallon, you're correct. It just goes to show you that it's not what you're driving, it's how you drive it. You could be driving a Prius, and if you pound on it, you're going to get gas mileage in the teens. I will give this vehicle one major demerit. Something I just noticed now as we're cruising on the highway here at 75 miles per hour. It doesn't have cruise control. Why wouldn't you include cruise control? My God! What were you thinking? So I guess I have to ask the question now, the question that's on your mind: would I rent this car again, and should you? Well, cash is king and money talks. So let's pull it over and price it out.
Alright, so since this vehicle is a loaner, we're going to have to use Enterprise as our reference. That gives us about a $30 a day average for a weekend rate, which is usually when you guys are renting cars. Right here in Atlanta with 16 bucks, you actually save the most money out in LA, which is a big surprise for me. It's only $14 a day out there. JFK absolutely destroyed our average with $70 a day. So for that price, for 30 bucks a day, and all you have to do is drive around town, I guess this is a pretty good car. But if you plan on going any significant difference, I wanted to say get this car. I really wanted to say get this car, especially considering that awesome stereo this thing has. But I have to say once again, you gotta skip this GM car and get yourself something foreign. At least this one, no cruise control. That's a big no-no. Do not give us cars without cruise control. I don't care if it's just a rental. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, for Rental Car Reviews, I'm David Adams. We'll see you guys next time. This many.